It's day 2 of our on-the-ground coverage of COP27 here in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, where everything climate change is being discussed. Today, the underlying theme is carbon credits, from the registering of these credits for countries to its sale and everything in between.
Carbon credits, the sale of carbon credits, the estimation of the various countries, their carbon potential, that's the undercurrent at this point. While yes, they're negotiating to see, what the market is going to look like, the difference between sovereign credits. Sovereign credits mean compliance, tapping into the compliance market, and of course a voluntary market. The discussions with some of the donors, some of the stakeholders, some of the various institutions is, okay, so you have carbon credits, what's your potential as a country, how can we assist you in either putting mechanisms in place or actual purchase your carbon credits.
Governments and ministers of finance wants to know how can we get additional climate finance from monetizing our blue carbon and our carbon assets like seagrasses, mangroves and forests to cause more monies to flow into the region for them to then invest that money in climate resilient development.
So where is Belize in this process? Chief Climate Change Officer Dr. Lennox Gladden says that as a country, we have been readying ourselves for this type of climate finance. Over 60% of Belize is still on the forest cover, and the successful implementation of the Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation Program, better known as the REDD+, coupled with a recent study done on the mangrove forest and its potential to sequester huge amounts of earth-warming carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, there is a good estimation of Belize's carbon stock.
We have some pre-2020 credits that we already know how much that potential is. But we also recently concluded, and it's the first of its kind in the region, that looks at mangrove carbon, right? So we did a national assessment that looked at mangrove carbon through the assistance of Pew. Of course, Nadia Bud back in Belize, she was very instrumental in that process. We had 14 institutions, so it was a robust collaboration and work getting done on the ground. So through that assessment, from mangrove carbon, it was between 22 and I think 25 teragrams of mangrove carbon. Right? So that is quite significant, but it is there. Now it's to interpret that to results-based payment.
And so with the negotiations, the mechanism for registering carbon stocks across countries and getting the best price for value are being discussed.
There's a prerequisite to that, whereby we have to submit certain documents to the UNFCCC. We have to have our social and environmental safeguards in place. The National Forest Monitoring System that needs an updated forest reference emissions level. So documents, but that is more on the documentation side. For us to market, enter the carbon market, we have to have that national registry, or a registry per se. Because at the end of the day, it needs to be accounted in some form or fashion to what is going on here under the UNFCCC process. There's a compliance and a voluntary market. The state actors need to know what that is going to look like, if you're going to sell on the voluntary, if you're going to sell on the compliance, and how we tabulate at the end of the day. We're not selling just to sell's sake. We're selling to help to enhance all these activities with both local and indigenous communities. So that the branding for Belize, it is really up there, and that helps to increase the price that you can get if we choose to venture into the carbon market.
It is about Belize getting the best bang for your buck for having actively conserved and preserved our forests when entering the carbon market. So does it get a better value if it's addressed from a regional perspective?
We want to develop a regional policy and legislative framework that will guide CARICOM's participation in the markets so that when the governments engage, they go in with their two eyes open to get the best deal, and that they don't jump on the first opportunity that may turn out to be a bad deal. The second is that we have to understand what the carbon stocks of all our countries are. How much carbon does Belize have? How much carbon does Barbados have? Suriname, Guyana, Jamaica? Because once we know what we have and we treat this as a regional project, we're in a better position to negotiate the best deals.
Requests have been made for sit-downs with Belize for the purchase of carbon credits, but Dr. Gladden says that those negotiations will be up to the government to accept a price And that is where it stands with the carbon market for Belize currently. Reporting from COP27 in Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt, Duane Moody for News 5.